Hello, everybody. Welcome to this. I'm calling them spiritual integration coaching sessions. So, welcome to it. However, I think I need to change the name a little bit. Um, Maybe what I do here is more teaching than coaching, because when you do coaching with me, it's a little bit different because we're tapping into you personally and what you need. So, here I'm doing a little bit more teaching about spirituality, integration, and all those things that we need to focus on in order to help bring our higher selves into this space and raise our consciousness and raise our vibrations so that we can live a more integrated life. So that's what I do here. Welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about clairaudience. And this is the third video in the series of talking about spiritual gifts. I have linked in the description below the two previous ones that I did, which was on clairvoyance and clairempathy. So if you'd like to learn more about those gifts, please go ahead and look over there. I just want to put my notes somewhere where I can see it. I don't want to miss out on anything that I need to focus on here today. Okay, there we go, all sorted. So yeah, please do look in the description below for the videos on clairempathy and clairvoyance. All right, so what do you know about clairaudience? I'm sure you can tell by the name that it's got something to do with audio. So the gift of hearing. It's not physical hearing with your physical senses, but rather an extrasensory ability in which you can hear, as in layman's terms, they would say, hear what isn't there. Or we can look at it another way, hearing from spirit, hearing messages or getting guidance from spirit through hearing. But this hearing is not a physical hearing. It's not the same as hearing something physical. However, some people do hear it physically. They might hear things that other people can't hear, and it sounds really real to them. But for the most part, it is a psychic ability, and it's a sense of hearing, if that makes any sense. Okay, so it's focused around sound and also anything verbal. And so let me just tell you a little bit more about myself before I get into today's topic. And today I will be speaking about a little bit more about what is clairaudience, how to recognize if you are clairaudient, if this is a gift that you have. And I'll also be giving you some tools to learn how to develop your clairaudient abilities and cultivate it. So stick around for that if you're interested in learning more about that. So if it's your first time to my channel, I am Michelle Sipker, and I am a psychic channel, an artist, a healer, a coach, and a compassion key practitioner. On this channel, I provide information, education, and tools to the community in the form of higher frequency channeling, healing, and coaching. And when I say higher frequency channeling, I mean I'm connecting to beings of higher frequencies, beings of love and light. Yeah, that's what I'm into. So every Monday night, I channel answers to questions for the community. So it's usually Monday nights, 8 p.m. South African Standard Time. And on Wednesdays, I channel healing meditations or other transmissions Wednesday mornings. And then on Fridays, I teach higher vibrational integration. That's what I'm doing here today, teaching about clairaudience. And next week, just for interest's sake, I will be teaching about setting healthy boundaries. That's what we're going to look at next week, setting healthy boundaries. And in the video after that, we will be focusing on another clair or another spiritual gift, which is claircognizance. Okay. So if you'd like to support what I do here on YouTube, if you appreciate what I do, and if you'd like me to continue doing that, I would absolutely love your support. One way you can do that is to like, share, and subscribe my videos, and to subscribe to my channel, and to comment on the videos, asking any questions. That is also really helpful, and I appreciate all of your comments, and I read every single one. And if you have suggestions of videos that you would like to learn about, teachings that you would like to receive from me, just ask me. There's no limit. I would be happy to teach as long as it's of a higher frequency and spiritual nature, or anything about integration. And another way you can support me is to make a contribution. So also down below is a link, a PayPal link, where you can make a contribution towards me, a donation of your choice. And that's totally up to you. So if you feel like that's something you want to do, that link is down below. And of course, my website link is also down below if you would like to book a session with me, or next year. I will be starting in January. I'm going to be starting an academy in which I will be teaching some courses, specifically around intuition and mediumship and all these special gifts. So if you are keen to develop those gifts, I am going to start teaching on those next year. Okay, so let's get back to clairaudience. See if there's anything else I was supposed to say. No. So clairaudience, let's look at what is it. So we already know that it's got to do with sound, and that it's about hearing things that isn't audible to the physical ear, right? But mainly the reason why we have these psychic gifts or spiritual gifts like claircognizance, clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairempathy, clairsalience, clairgustance, all of those different clairs, which I will also be doing videos on, is to get messages from spirit. It's guidance for us, any guidance that we may need. Messages like, do this, this would be a good idea. Don't go that route when you're driving, for example. Don't go that route. Something just tells you, don't go that way. It's just help from the other side. And sometimes it's just to let us know that our loved ones are thinking of us, that they're around, they're just on the other side. So there's different reasons we get information, and sometimes we get messages to help others. And if you have if you are a light worker, maybe you're not even aware of it, and you have this real urge to want to help people, guide people, then these gifts come into play for that as well. So what are some of the ways in which it comes through? How do you recognize clairaudience? Oh dear. Hope you've been able to hear me so far. I always forget to put the microphone on. Okay. So some of the ways in which it can come through, and this is why I also decided to start making these videos, because there's certain information out there that we know about these spiritual gifts, but we don't always realize how deep they go or how much there is to it. Sometimes they present in ways that we don't expect. So, for example, clairaudience doesn't always present as words. Sometimes it presents as a tone or a frequency that you're hearing. Sometimes it sounds like gibberish. It's like light language coming through. Sometimes it's music coming through. And And yeah, so that there's a lot of different ways in which it can present or which you can hear it, but it's not, most of the time it's not like hearing physical sounds. It can happen. And there's a few ways to recognize whether you are clairaudient. And please also remember that if you have a spiritual gift, very often we have one gift that's stronger than the others, but most of us don't just have one spiritual gift. We usually have more than one, and they work together in unison. So when we are experiencing, for example, clairaudience, sometimes we're experiencing not just clairaudience, but some other gifts with it. So maybe you'll hear and see and feel at the same time. Okay, so there's different ways in which it comes through. So it's not always so black and white. And it's all just about learning to discern when it's a message and when it's your imagination. But from my experience, most of the time, it's not our imaginations. You know, imaginations have been given a good rap in terms of creativity, but a bad rap in terms of psychic abilities. So, and the imagination is a very important way to activate those abilities. So I spoke about that quite a bit last week, 2 weeks ago in the video on clairvoyance. So please go have a look at that. Like I said, the description's down below if you want to learn more about that. Okay, so let's look at a few ways in which we can tell if clairaudience is something that may be a possibility for you. Okay, so first of all, if you are drawn to music, if you prefer listening to audiobooks instead of reading books, not to say that you don't like reading books, but maybe you just prefer audiobooks. I certainly do. Oh, I love audiobooks. Um, maybe maybe you like speaking to yourself. Maybe you're a good listener, because clairaudience isn't always about expressing. It's often about listening, sitting back, hearing, becoming still, right? So maybe you're a really good listener and you're willing to listen. Okay, and that's usually a very good indication if you're a good listener. If you are able to pick up subtleties in music and you're quite aware. So now this is important. You don't necessarily have to have musical talents and musical abilities. You may not even be able to sing very well, but you can hear the change in pitch. You're aware of rhythms. You're aware of different instruments coming in or different things happening with music. You have a good appreciation for music. That's also often an indication that you probably are clairaudient. And of course, if you do have musical talents and you do enjoy creating sounds in whatever shape or form, that you're just passionate about it and you're constantly finding yourself making sounds, either with your mouth, with instruments, or in whichever way, or you, like I said, you're just drawn to listening. So if you have any of that, you are quite possibly clairaudient. So just like visual artists, like myself, are usually have some clairvoyant ability or very strong clairvoyant ability. People that are drawn to music and love listening to music and creating music are usually clairaudient and often channel some of the music that they create. So here's a good example of that. So if you think about Paul McCartney, he talks, this is widely known, and if you go, you can go research this. He often talks about how Let It Be, the song Let It Be, came to him in a dream, right? And he's not the only one. Many musicians have spoken about a tune being stuck in their head all of a sudden or something like that. So that is a clear indication that they have channeled that music. It came through, it was a message. So Paul McCartney, I love that example because it's such a beautiful message in that song, right? Which is just basically for him, it was this guidance that was coming through that he needed to hear. Okay, so what are some of the other ways? Maybe some of the less known ways, okay, that maybe you did not even think of. Are you an auditory learner? Okay, so there's three types of learning. There's a visual learning, there's auditory learning, and there's kinesthetic learning. Visual learning, very obvious. Learn by seeing visuals, graphs, pictures, whatever. Kinesthetic learner is somebody who likes to learn by doing things, and that's the best way they learn. And auditory learner is someone who learns by listening. And this includes reading their notes out loud, making notes and reading it out loud, or just reading the content out loud, or listening to audio material, or listening to videos, maybe listening more to the videos or movies than watching them. These are all different ways. And even maybe in some people stim by making sounds because it soothes them, and then saying stuff out loud. So that's all auditory. And anything verbal really comes into clairaudience as well. So speaking, listening. Do you have, for example, the gift of gab? Are you good at talking? If you're good at talking and listening, then you are probably clairaudient. So are you aware of people's different kinds of voices? Do you hear more than what they're saying? That's all signs of clairaudience. And then, do you have abilities with language? That's another usually good indication. If you're good at picking up different languages, if you're good at hearing the different intonations and recognizing that, like I said, not everybody's going to be a musician. There are other ways in which clairaudience shows up. So perhaps you have a natural affinity for languages, and you just pick little phrases and words up really quickly. Even if you don't necessarily go into learning a language in detail, it's quite natural to you to pick up certain sounds and certain phrases and certain things. And do you often have, so this is an interesting one, do you often have earworms coming in, right? Perhaps there's a song that you haven't heard in a while, and then it just pops into your head. And the song just keeps on playing over in your head, but you didn't hear the song anywhere. You keep asking yourself, did I hear this somewhere? But especially if you know you haven't heard it, that's a message. That song is a message. It's coming through. I'm going to take an obvious example. Every now and then, and I'm not a, look, I don't dislike R&B, but it's not my favorite music, R&B. It's got its place, you know. But sometimes I hear I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston. So when that song comes through, I know that it's a message from Spirit letting me know that I am loved. And it usually comes through when I'm feeling low and I'm feeling, you know, oh, nobody cares. Or, you know, we all have our low moments. So that is just an example of how that message can come through, right? And also, something that I feel is important to point out here is that clairaudience is often linked to telepathic abilities. So telepathy is a very interesting topic, and I'm learning more about it every day. I do have some skill with telepathy, but I also realize that it's limited sometimes, and I'm starting to understand and learn why. Yes, it's a very interesting topic. But telepathy is often linked with clairaudience because it is really activating that sense of hearing without hearing. But here's the thing. One of the biggest ways in which those words, in which you hear those things, is that it's more like it pops into your head. That's kind of how clairaudience works. It's like it just pops into your head, these words. And sometimes these words work with your clairvoyant abilities, and sometimes you see the word. So that happens with me quite often. Sometimes my clairaudience and my clairvoyance works together. And whether it is I see a word and hear the phrase at the same time, sometimes it just kind of scrolls across across my inner vision. Sometimes you might see it on a screen or something like that, but you're hearing it, but not really hearing it, not with your physical sense. You're perceiving it. I think that's a better way to put it. You're perceiving the words in some way. Another way in which, and clairvoyance and clairaudience sometimes work really well together. So, and they're both connected to the third eye, and clairaudience also connected to your throat chakra. Sometimes I will, for example, when I am seeing with my inner eye, I might see trees blowing in the wind, but then I'll hear the wind as well, right? I get the sense of the sound of the wind, if that makes sense. So it combines with our other gifts in all kinds of ways. Maybe sometimes you can see somebody doing carpentry, get a sense of the sounds of the power tools, and smell the smell of sawdust. That smell, that's clairaudience, when you're able to smell things. I'm going to do a video on that probably only next year. Speaking of that, I'm going to be taking a break. I'm going to be doing my last video. Let me just make sure in my calendar. I think it's the 14th of December. Yes, the 14th of December, I'll be doing my last, no, I lie. The 19th of December, I'm going to be doing my last live video. That will be a Monday night channeling. And that will be a message for the festive season, and we'll focus on the festive season. And then I'll be back on the 2nd of January to give my, it's going to be less of a Q&A and more of a, it's also going to be a Monday night channeling, but it's going to be more of a giving an idea of the year ahead. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be doing on Monday, the 2nd of January. And yeah, I'll see. I might release that sooner rather than later, and maybe that will just be a regular Monday night channeling. Maybe I'll just leave it open. Yeah, I'm still deciding how I'm going to present my 2023, what I pick up for 2023. But anyway, it might be a Q&A about what I've released for 2023. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to be in flow with that and see what comes up. Okay, so anyway, 19th of December will be my last video for 2022, and the 2nd of January 2023, I will be back with my first live for the year. All right, so that's all of the things. We were speaking about telepathic ability with clairaudience, just so that you also understand. Telepathy does not only come through a psychic sound or spiritual sound, if you want. It's also very much connected to all the other senses. Okay, so with telepathy, you can receive images, you can, emotions are very important with telepathy. So there are other elements, and whatever your strongest psychic gifts or spiritual gifts are, that will probably come up for you the strongest when you are receiving telepathic communication. And just on another little side note, telepathy and channeling can sometimes be confused. They seem very similar sometimes. And that's something that I've had to deal with as well, realizing when I'm channeling and when I'm actually receiving telepathic communication from, let's say, extraterrestrials or other beings. But there is a connection, but there's also a difference. Anyway, so clairaudience and telepathy often go hand in hand as well. All right, so now I'm going to talk about the tools. How can you help along your clairaudient abilities? How can you develop them? How can you also maybe not just develop what you have, but help practice it so that you can bring that skill or that gift in to be stronger for you. Okay, So maybe it's not your strongest gift, but you want to develop it. So there are different ways to do this. So the first most important way, and I repeat this with everything that I do. This is a foundational thing. Most of you already know this. However, I feel the need to always express the importance of this foundational step. So whenever you're dealing with any psychic work, whenever you're dealing with messages coming in, whether it's this specific gift of clairaudience or any type of other gift, it is important to learn to manage your energy. I cannot stress this enough. It is important to ground. When you are grounded, you are less in your head and more in your heart. You are centered. You feel connected to your body and you are present. Grounding is truly about presence. It's about being in connection with Mother Earth, but being present. Being present here right now is being connected to Earth as well, because this is where you are. So, and it's also about providing some safety for you, feeling safe, feeling secure, and it lets the anxiety go away. It helps the thoughts to go away so that you can gain clarity, so you can clear your mind. So grounding is super, super, super important, not only for people who want to develop the psychic gifts, but for everybody. It is so important to be grounded so that you can live your best life. And also part of managing your own energy is clearing negative energy or clearing energy that's not yours, that doesn't serve you, as well as protecting your energy. Now, protection of your energy is not so much about protecting against bad things. It is a little bit involved with that, but it's much more about keeping the energy that's yours in your space and not letting others influence your energy. It could even be other people you love that can influence your energy. So you want to protect your energy against other people's energy, not because the energy is bad, but because you want your energy so that you can be in alignment with yourself. Okay, so I have written 3 blogs about energy management, grounding, clearing, and protection. The links to those blog posts are down below if you would like to go and check them out. Okay, and then it is also important to adjust to your own frequency. And I love using the word frequency here because clairaudience is so closely connected to frequency. And this certainly isn't only for Pleiadian starseeds, but if you are a Pleiadian starseed, you will probably be very sensitive to energy and to sound, to frequencies. And frequencies of energy and energy are the same thing, basically, okay? But here we're talking about frequency, sound. And how did everything come into existence? It started with sound. So sound is incredibly powerful. It is so powerful. If you think about Om, okay, Om, I'm not that good at that, but anyway. Oh, am I wearing my Om? I'm wearing my Om symbol today. There we go. I guess I didn't even think about the fact that I was doing this video today when I was wearing my Om. Om, the sound of creation, right? So it just helps you to center yourself. So connecting with your frequency means connecting with your true self, connecting with your soul, connecting with your higher self. So to be able to hear or use any of your psychic gifts, it's important to connect with your higher self. And connecting to your personal frequency lets you know what's your frequency so that you can protect your frequency or keep your frequency close. Be in alignment. That's really what it's about. Being in alignment with you and not trying to be something you're not, right? And the more you're in alignment with you and the more you are shining your own light, the more you can clear all the clutter and be able to receive messages very clearly. And I have written a blog post as well called Shine Your Light. The link to that is also down below if you would like to go and read that. Here is the next one. The next tool that I would like to give you for clairaudience specifically is a fun one, or at least it's a fun one for me. And if you have a clairaudient ability, it will probably be fun for you too. You do not have to have a good singing voice for this one, but it's toning. Toning. If you don't know what that is, feel free to go look it up. I have not written anything or done anything around toning. So you can just go and research that on your own if you want to. But basically what it is expressing your true voice. And it can come in the form of singing. It's usually we sing, and we find you basically just start making sound. It's not about singing a specific song. It's about making a sound until the sound that you make just feels like a good sound to make. It resonates with you. It really matches up with your personal frequency. And that's why I mentioned the personal frequency first, aligning with your true self, because toning helps you to do that, finding your frequency, and then it also just helps you bring you in the present moment. It helps to ground you, and you'll be able to be more aware of messages coming in through clairaudience. Another useful tool to use or to develop clairaudience is verbalizing your truth. So speaking your truth. And this is a challenge for many people. I understand that. And yeah, I battled with that for a long time. But verbalizing those things as well. So it's kind of, you can, there's two sides of verbalizing, right? The one side of it is kind of speaking to yourself. Now, if you're already someone that speaks to yourself, this will not be such a stretch. So instead of journaling everything, instead of writing everything down in a journal, you can verbalize it to yourself out loud. Just have a conversation with yourself, okay? And you can also do a recording of that if you want to listen to what your thoughts were a year ago, and you want to compare and see how far you've grown. So it can be useful as a kind of journal entry to do recordings, voice recordings. You can also record toning, of course. And toning, if you can do toning, that is sometimes the first step to start letting light language come through. Okay, so that's a whole nother thing, that's channeling, but it is a way if you can open your mouth, find the tone, and then just start surrendering, the light language can come through. And what's the purpose of light language? It's sometimes for downloads, it's quite often for healing. It has many different purposes. So if you would like to know more about speaking your truth, there's also a link down in the description to the video that I did. I think I did it last week, entitled Speaking Your Truth, in which I go into a lot more depth about the struggles that people have around speaking the truth, where it comes from, why they struggle with it, and how to overcome it, and just become stronger in speaking your truth. So the link to that video is down below. You're welcome to go check that out if it resonates with you. Don't you just love the word resonates? Okay. Resonate, audience, clairaudience, resonance, frequency. Yeah, it's all linked. It's all relevant. Okay, another very, very useful way to develop not only your clairaudience, but other psychic abilities is meditation. So, but if you want to focus on clairaudience, then guided meditations or meditations with music, sound journeys as well, going to sound journeys, because that will be something that will really resonate with you if you're clairaudient. A sound journey is an amazing experience. So I would definitely recommend that. Also allowing yourself to experience sound healing. There's amazing sound healers out there. I am not a sound healer, even though I do use light language. I use frequencies. I sometimes use my bell. I've got a special bell that I use. I do use sound in my healing, but I'm not a sound healer, if that makes sense. So there's some amazing sound healers out there. And I would definitely recommend that, or a sound journey. And of course, meditations that are focused around sound, like frequency music and a guided meditation. All right. And then This one is connected to, the next tool is connected to, and it's actually not more than a tool. It is so important for everybody to do this, whether you want to develop the gift of clairaudience or whether you just want to have a more fulfilling and joyful life. And that is practicing speaking through your heart. So really allowing your heart chakra to open up, allowing the love to come in, and letting love flow through you, so that when you speak to people, you are not speaking from the ego, but you're speaking from your wisdom. You're speaking from your higher self. So again, this is connected to speaking, connecting with your frequency and your higher self. But just letting that love come through when you speak. And when you speak in this way, this is also connected to speaking your truth. When you speak in this way, it will be easier for people to receive what you want to say. The communication will be clearer and it will be much more positive. And when we are speaking through love, speaking through heart, speaking from love, it's not only when we're speaking to other people, it's also the language you use with yourself. It's also about self-talk. Okay. Yes. And there is actually a video that I would like to recommend. I've linked that down below. There's a video that I created. It was one of my live meditation transmissions on a Wednesday morning, which is a video of Green Tara. Okay, so Green Tara came through and she guided us in connecting with our hearts. And that was quite a pivotal time earlier this year when I can't remember which portal it was, but a portal that opened up the heart chakra. So that came through at that time and still very relevant. So have a look at that if that resonates with you. And there is also a video. So this is the last one I'm going to mention. But there is a live meditation that I did as well with Archangel Gabriel. Okay. In connecting with speaking your truth and speaking through love. Yeah, so that video is down below as well, and it also could be very helpful. And then there's two more things that I want to mention around developing clairaudience. The first one I want to speak about is becoming still. So very, very good and fantastic way to allow yourself to start hearing from the other side is if you can quiet the chatter in your head, quiet your mind. Now, I did mention that a little bit when I was speaking about grounding. But in order to quiet your mind, in order to hear from the other side, in order to hear from spirit, you need to become still. So sometimes this involves finding a quiet place. You can listen to frequency music, but sometimes we just want stillness. You want to find a place where you don't have to, where you won't be disturbed, where it's quiet and peaceful, and you learn to sit in that silence. And this can be challenging for many. I understand that and I get that. And I struggled with it a long time myself. But the more I practiced meditation, sometimes when I could only be still for a very short amount of time, it stretched and became longer and longer and longer. The more I practiced. And now I'm able to, sometimes it still takes a bit of focus, but I can now sit and be still. And when you find that place of stillness, so the first step to doing that is opening up your heart, opening your mind, opening your heart, receiving. So going into a receptive energy, allowing yourself to just receive, just to be, and not being attached to the outcome. I think this is very important with all spiritual gifts. Don't get too attached to the outcome. Just allow yourself to be, to receive, to feel, and then it will come through when the time is right, when you're ready. Okay, and the more you raise your vibrations, of course, that's very important. Again, grounding is very important for raising your frequencies. Listening to frequency music will help you raise your vibration. Doing meditation will help you raise your frequency. So all of those things are important as well in developing all psychic gifts. And the last thing I'd like to touch on today is discernment. Okay, it is so, so important to learn discernment, to learn when it is your ego busy chattering away and when it is your higher self or your wisdom, your inner truth busy coming through. Um, and discernment is just such an important thing because we can really make the wrong choices when we are listening to ego instead of listening to our higher selves. You will know it's your higher self when it feels good and peaceful. And that's basically it. It's as simple as that. When it's your ego, there's usually something attached to it. There's like sometimes doubts coming up. There's maybe an overexcitement. So it's not always a negative feeling. Sometimes it's an overexcitement, too much excitement. So it's almost like adrenaline. And that can be fun and exciting, and play is certainly important. But if you are listening to guidance, what you want is that still, quiet voice. It's peaceful and calm, and it just feels good. That is your wisdom speaking. That is your intuition. That is your higher self speaking to you. So discernment, incredibly important. And of course, if you do have the gift of clairaudience and you do have messages coming through and you have messages coming through for other people, it is very important to not bombard them with the information. You do have to ask people's permission. You do have to ask if it's okay with them, because sometimes the information that's coming through, and this is connected to discernment as well, and you have to ask this. You have to ask your guidance when the message comes through. Is this for me to share? Do I share this? Or is it for me? Do I need to know this for some reason? And the first thing that pops in your head, that's the answer. Okay. If you really feel prompted that you need to share this, then you ask the person, I received a message for you. Would you like to hear it? And if they say no, you have to respect that. That's one of the first things that I had to learn, because it can be so damaging when somebody is not ready to receive a message. Okay. Just as I'm sure you can tell, even in your own life, there have been times when people have told you something or tried to teach you something, and if you weren't ready for it, it could create more damage than it can do good. So very, very important to be aware of that and be sensitive to that. Okay, and sometimes when the message comes through that we mustn't share it, the information is for you. Okay, so that you can maybe provide support in some way, in a different way than sharing the actual information. Or perhaps there's something you can do. Perhaps you can send healing, whatever it is. There's a reason you're getting the information. And maybe sometimes it's because you're so open and you're not allowing yourself to be protected, right? So, yeah. Sometimes we need to also learn to quiet down all the chatter, all the messages coming in, because there are times when you don't need to have your clairaudience on or your other spiritual gifts. Sometimes you need to just relax. Okay, so listen to your bodies. If you're starting to feel ill, getting headaches, anything like that, if your body is telling you something, listen to it. Always listen. All right. That's all I have to say about clairaudience. And if you enjoyed this video, please please share it with anyone that you feel will benefit from this. And subscribe to my channel, because I'm doing videos 3 times a week. If you would like to support me in this work that I do, this free work that I do for humanity and for the community, there's a PayPal link below. If you'd like to make a contribution, I would really appreciate that. And of course, you can book a session with me as well. And next week, I will be speaking about setting healthy boundaries. And in 2 weeks' time, I'll be speaking about, what did I say? Claircognizance. There we go. Thank you so much for listening. Excuse me. I hope you have a blessed week and a lovely weekend. And see you on Monday night. Bye.